In the vast machinery of modern warfare, most units are trained to destroy. Firepower, dominance, and tactical superiority are the tools of war. But in the shadows of this destruction, there exists a rare breed of warrior trained for the opposite, to preserve life. These men are known as pararescue men, or simply PJs. Yet even that title doesn't capture the full weight of their mission, because while they are trained to heal, they are also trained to kill. Pararescue men live at the razor's edge between life and death. Their motto, "That others may live," is not just a slogan, it is a contract. A promise to go where no one else can, to jump into gunfire, to plunge into darkness, to fight if needed, and to drag the wounded back from the brink. They are battlefield medics and combat specialists fused into one. In many ways, a PJ is both the guardian angel and the grim reaper, depending on what the moment demands. This dual identity makes them one of the most unique and versatile units in any military force in the world. They must be skilled in trauma medicine, survival tactics, navigation, airborne insertion, and, if necessary, close quarters combat. A PJ might spend the morning rehearsing CPR in a hangar, and by nightfall, be parachuting into hostile territory, weapon in hand, ready to do whatever it takes. But this wasn't always the case. The role of the pararescueman wasn't born from theory or military doctrine. It was born from blood, from failure, and from the cost of leaving people behind. The story of pararescue begins not with a heroic mission, but with a tragic one. In 1943, during the height of World War II, a U.S. transport aircraft was shot down over the dense, unforgiving jungles of New Guinea. On board were service members who survived the crash but found themselves critically wounded and stranded behind enemy lines. For days they waited, then weeks. The jungle was thick, the weather hostile, and Japanese troops patrolled nearby. By the time rescue crews finally reached them, some had already died not from enemy fire, but from wounds that could have been treated if help had come sooner. That mission failure struck a nerve. It revealed a glaring weakness in the U.S. military's capabilities. No dedicated force existed to extract, treat, and rescue personnel in extreme environments under combat conditions. Helicopter evacuations didn't exist yet. Medics were often attached to infantry units and not trained for independent rescue. There was no one whose sole purpose was to get the injured out alive, no matter where they were. The Air Force began asking the hard questions. What if there had been a team trained to survive behind enemy lines? What if medics could be dropped by parachute into impossible terrain? What if saving lives could be a strategic priority, not just a fortunate outcome? From these questions, the idea of pararescue was born. It took time for the vision to become reality. By 1947, just after the creation of the U.S. Air Force as its own branch, the first official pararescue units were formed. These early PJs were drawn from a mix of parachutists, medics, and survival experts. Their mission was clear: recover downed airmen, assist in crash rescues, and support special operations when casualties occurred. Quick pause before we continue. If you're enjoying the video so far and want to support the channel, consider becoming a member. You'll get some awesome perks like exclusive content, early access to videos, and more. Just hit the join button below or check the description, and let's get back to it. Early operations were basic by today's standards, but even then the men chosen stood out. They had to be mentally tough, physically resilient, and utterly committed to the lives of others. They trained in parachuting, survival, emergency medicine, and navigation, a radical combination at the time. Their missions were often classified, their deployments sudden and dangerous. Still, they kept going. By the time of the Korean War, the importance of PJs became undeniable. Helicopters had become more common, but pilots still crashed. Soldiers still went missing, and it was often the PJs who went in to pull them out, treating wounds in the air, stabilizing the injured mid-flight, and sometimes even defending the aircraft from attack during evacuation. In Vietnam, the legend of the pararescuemen was forged in fire. They became known for their bravery under impossible conditions, often flying into heavy enemy fire to rescue a single downed pilot or injured troop. Many died in the process, but many more were saved. It became clear, PJs were not just medics, they were warriors, and the training to become one had to reflect that. In the chaos of war, when plans fall apart and every second matters, There's a certain kind of operator the US military trusts with the impossible. You'll find them fast roping into firefights under cover of darkness, hiking for miles through Taliban-infested valleys, or stabilizing a critically wounded teammate with nothing but a flashlight in their mouth and one hand on a pressure dressing. These aren't scenes from a movie, they're daily reality for pararescue men. When it hits the fan, these are the men who run toward the danger. In Afghanistan, countless missions stand as testaments to the PJ legacy. One story echoes louder than most. A team of Army Rangers was ambushed in the mountains near Konar province. One Ranger took a round to the chest. His pulse faded. The terrain was too steep for a helicopter landing. There were no medics nearby. But there was a PJ. He descended from a hovering Black Hawk, swinging on a rope like a pendulum through gunfire. He hit the rocks running. No cover, no backup, just a medical kit and pure instinct. Under fire, he opened the Ranger's airway, applied a chest seal, started an IV, and coordinated a hoist extraction all within 10 minutes. That Ranger lived. Pararescue men aren't just battlefield medics. They're trained for what the military calls personnel recovery in denied areas, meaning they're expected to find, treat, and extract friendly forces in environments where no one else can go. This means hostile territory, zero visibility, no GPS, no air support, and sometimes no backup. In such conditions, PJs rely on their instincts, their training, and the unbreakable mindset that quitting simply isn't an option. The mission isn't over until every friendly is accounted for, or until the PJ goes down trying. Their missions extend far beyond combat. When the 2010 earthquake struck Haiti, chaos engulfed the capital. The airport was out of commission, hospitals collapsed, and over 200,000 people were feared dead. Within hours, a team of pararescuemen arrived. No runway? No problem. They coordinated landings, set up triage units, pulled survivors from rubble, and treated thousands, all while sleeping in the dirt and living off ration bars. In Alaska, a bush pilot crashed deep in the tundra. Sub-zero temperatures, blizzard conditions, no radio, no beacon. A Guardian Angel team flew 900 miles, parachuted in, found the wreckage, and stabilized the pilot even though they had to wait 3 days for weather to clear for pickup. The PJs stayed the whole time, because that's the job. They also serve on alert teams during major global events like Olympics, summits, presidential travel. Anywhere there's a threat to U.S. lives, PJs are nearby, quietly ready to respond. Their insertion methods are as versatile as their skills. Halo freefall jumps at 30,000 feet, scuba infiltration into enemy ports, fast rope descents into combat zones, Arctic ski insertions in frozen wastelands, desert extractions using dune buggies and pack animals, and no matter how they arrive, their goal remains the same: stabilize, extract, and return, alive. PJs often deploy with other special operations units, Delta Force, Navy SEALs, Army Green Berets as part of Joint Special Operations Task Forces. But unlike their teammates, PJs have to carry not just their own loadout, but also trauma kits, litters, and extra gear for treating and moving casualties. In one deployment, a PJ embedded with a SEAL team on a nighttime hostage rescue in Somalia. During exfiltration, a SEAL was wounded. The PJ moved under fire, administered blood transfusions from his own emergency packs, and helped get the team and the hostage out safely. That SEAL later said, "I wouldn't be breathing if he hadn't been there." They're more than medics, they're operators who can shoot, move, and communicate under pressure, and then save your life when you can't move at all. What separates them is not just skill, it's a mentality. The best pararescue men are ice cold in chaos. They can shut out panic, focus on what matters, and push through exhaustion. They're often the calmest voice on the radio in the middle of absolute hell. What separates them is not just skill, it's a mentality. The best pararescue men are ice cold in chaos. They can shut out panic, focus on what matters, and push through exhaustion. They're often the calmest voice on the radio in the middle of absolute hell. Some describe them as having doctor brains and commando hearts, but those who serve with them simply call them lifesavers. Their success is measured not in kills, but in recoveries. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment so you don't miss out.